devotional with you guys tonight. This devotional came from one of the links from our website. And so I'd like to encourage you to look at our website, make yourself familiar with it. There is a useful links tab at the top of the page. If you go there, there's all kinds of information for you to have your daily Bible studies. And so we're going to do one of those tonight so you can see what we're talking about. This actual article was under the house to house link on that useful link page. Talking about the sin of silence. Citizens are under arrest are given the Miranda rights, which include the right to remain silent. Citizens of God's kingdom have no Miranda rights. With so much at stake, Christians do not have the right to remain silent. T.B. Larimore used to say, "I would be afraid to be ashamed, and ashamed to be afraid." One said, "Silence is sometimes golden, but it can be just plain yellow." Right? And the reason he's saying that is because you might call someone yellow if they're afraid of doing something. All right? I don't know if you've heard that term or not, but you probably have. But this would come into the category of us being afraid to tell others about God and about the gospel. Silence is a sin when a brother has gone astray. How many have been converted or placed membership at a congregation and they attend for a time, but then they begin to attend sporadically? Finally, they quit coming altogether. Jesus gave a parable about a shepherd that applies in such instances. The shepherd went out to find the wandering sheep and brought it home safely. As God shepherds, elders seek lost sheep, but they are not alone in responsibility. The rule should be that those who are most likely to succeed in winning them back should be most active in seeking them. This will usually be their friends and Bible teachers. Paul wrote, "Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted." That's from Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. And so we don't have the right to sit back as any member of the congregation and say, "Well, I hadn't heard from so-and-so," and come and ask the elders, "Have y'all called them? Have y'all talked to them?" Yes, it's our responsibility, but it's also everyone's responsibility. And so the idea is the more people that are searching and making sure that there's not somebody in our congregation that gets overlooked. We all need to be a part of watching for those, because sometimes people are sick for a week or two, and you think, okay, they'll probably be back next Sunday, and then maybe they're not the next Sunday. Well, maybe they'll be back the next Sunday, and before you know it, nobody's realized how long they've been gone. And so we try to keep up with that. We have a announcement sheet that or a attendance sheet that Dale Phillips fills out every Sunday. And so we can look back at that sheet and we can say, this person's been gone for 4 weeks. We better make sure and check on them. Okay, and so we're trying to do that, but let's all work together so we can make sure. And if 5 people or 10 people or 20 people call someone who has been absent, then this is only going to be better for that person. Silence is a sin when the defenseless need a voice. Pure religion involves caring about the vulnerable in society. The church ought to support the weak and plead for the widow, defend the poor and fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and to the needy, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet. Isaiah 58, verse 1. Speak and exhort and rebuke. Titus chapter 2, verse 15. Edmund Burke observed, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. In World War II Germany, there were two kinds of churches: silent churches that said nothing against the atrocities of the Third Reich, and praying, confessing churches. As part of the second group, Martin Niemöller emerged as an outspoken foe of Adolf Hitler. He was eventually arrested and spent the last 7 years of Nazi rule in a concentration camp. Niemöller is best remembered for the question, first, they came for the socialist and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak for me. Congregations today also can be silent churches or praying, confessing churches. Since we were allowed of God to be put in trust with the gospel, we speak not as pleasing men, but God which trieth our hearts. It takes courage to be politically incorrect on pressing social issues such as abortion, homosexuality, fornication, adultery, divorce, drinking, and gambling. Are we willing to talk to people about those subjects? Or at least if that subject is brought up in our group, are we willing to speak up and say that's not right? How do we know that's not right? Because God's word says it's not right. A premier of the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev, denounced the atrocities of Joseph Stalin. Once, as he censored Stalin in a public meeting, a heckler interrupted him saying, "You were one of Stalin's colleagues? Why didn't you stop him?" He said, "Who said that?" roared Khrushchev. An agonizing silence followed. Nobody in the crowd dared move a muscle. Then Khrushchev replied, "Now you know why." Silence is a sin when a sinner needs the gospel. Though provoking, a thought-provoking old hymn says, "When in the better land, before the bar we stand, how deeply grieved our souls will be. If any lost one there should cry in deep despair, you never mention him to me." The chorus says, "You never mentioned him to me. You helped me not the way to see. You met me day by day and knew I was astray, yet you never mentioned him to me. Oh, let us spread the word where'er it may be heard. Help groping souls the light to see, that yonder none may say, you showed me not the way, you never mentioned him to me. A few sweet words may guide a lost one to his side, Christ's side, or turn sad eyes on Calvary. So work as days go by, that yonder none may cry, you never mentioned him to me." This song caused me to think several years ago about some of my friends at work. And I thought, I need to think about that because some of them I hadn't talked to about Christ. And so then I started talking about Christ. And so there's been some that have responded and some that came and visited us here. Some of them went forward and became great men. Some of them didn't. But do we want that song or that thought said about us on the judgment day? You have a friend that you've had all your life and you never mentioned God to them. You never invited them to worship. Something to think about. But what I want you to realize is we have good Bible studies just like that on our website. Take advantage. The information is there for you to study. Take advantage. You need to look through all that information and be familiar with where it is. Then, if nothing else, you can lead your friend to that website. Right? Say, I'd love for you to read this article here. Or you can print it out and hand it to them. Say, I'd love for you to read this article. It's a good tool, so let's use it. All right, 226 will be our first song.